Good evening. I'd like to call the Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I would be looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lewis.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Martin to approve the Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting agenda. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to item number 3, it is the approval of the minutes. So we're looking for the approval of the October 24th, 2023 HRA board meeting minutes. Are there any questions or additions? Hearing none, we'd be looking for that motion to approve the October 24th, 2023 HRA board meeting minutes.
Move to approve it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wooten
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Doblinger to move the October 24th, 2023 HRA board meeting minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0 with one abstaining, Commissioner Lewis, as she was not at the meeting. Now we'll move on to new business. Item 4.1 is a public hearing and approval of the 2024 Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 Annual Plan and Administrative Plan. May we have the staff report?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Anna Salvador. I'm a Program Specialist 2 within the HRA. So before you tonight is an annual item. Every year, the Bloomington HRA is required to submit an annual plan and the administrative plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program to HUD. And before you tonight are both of those plans. So just a quick overview, if I can, doesn't like my, okay, perfect, thank you. So just a quick overview about the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So this is a federally funded program. HUD designs program regulations, and we are in contract directly with HUD to administer that program. So the star on that diagram is us. Also, other components of this program are property owners and property managers who lease units to our families and program participants within the program. And with a traditional housing choice voucher, a household can move into any unit as long as the rent works with the program. In terms of our program specifically, we have a total of 586 vouchers that we're actively administering. This includes 38 project-based vouchers, and those vouchers are slightly different in that their assistance is tied to a specific unit rather than a traditional voucher that you can use in any unit. Additionally, we have 63 vouchers that are called poured-out vouchers. So those are households that live in other communities, but it's tied to our funding. So they are still a part of our program. Oops. I think I just hit stop. So kind of a little overview of the difference between the annual plan and the administrative plan. So annual plan serves as kind of more of a high-level document. I like to see it as a progress report of how we're doing on 5-year goals around program operation strategies towards meeting local housing needs. We submit this, again, annually, this progress report, and then I do want to just flag that we are coming up on a new 5-year plan that would start in 2025, so that is something we'll be working on in 2024 is putting that plan together. Another component with the annual agency plan is we are required to do or form a resident advisory board, and this is made up of current program participants. So as part of this process, as we're preparing our annual agency plan, we do send out invitations to all of our current program participants to volunteer for the resident advisory board, and really their purpose is to provide feedback, guidance on the programs and policies that are a part of the plan. In terms of the administrative plan, this is much more the details and the operations of how we administer the program locally. A lot of the program is prescribed by HUD, but there are specific areas where we at the local level can kind of provide more information about how we're going to administer the program based on local conditions and market. Thank you. So a couple things with the current admin plan. So this year we actually implemented a new format for the plan. So comparing it to previous years, the plan itself is significantly more robust. I would say we've quadrupled the page number in the plan, primarily with the goal of just outlining every single aspect of the program, and which provides clarity for both our program participants but also staff members who are administering the program. It also delineates more what are HUD requirements versus where our local policies kind of interplay. Really, I think defining that more clearly for staff helps us to understand better where we have room to make changes, but also for program participants to really understand what HUD is telling us we have to do as well. A couple of key changes within the plan itself. We expanded the time frame that a household member could be absent from the unit and still remain an eligible household member. So originally it was 30 days. We've now moved it up to 90 days. This is much more in alignment with neighboring housing authorities, but just gives more flexibility and improves housing stability for our households that may have a medical emergency or a family emergency that requires them to travel long distances. Another thing is the plan clarifies eligibility criteria related to criminal activity. Just improved alignment with current HUD requirements. Some of the language in our prior plans wasn't really consistent with how HUD has been moving in that area. And then lastly, we did implement a new software over this last year, and to align our plan with that new technology, we've expanded the use of email and the online portal as a primary method of communication with our households. This is just a quick overview timeline of what the process has been. So again, with the RAB letters, or the Resident Advisory Board letters, we sent those out in September. And then at the end of September, we opened the public comment period. It's a 45-day public comment period, and we also did run notices in the Sun Current on October 5th and October 12th. We are now here tonight for the public hearing, and then once we receive approval of the plans, they will be submitted to HUD in early December. All right, and I now would like to open the public hearing.
Thank you. So as stated, this is a public hearing, so policy is we would look for a motion to approve the opening of the public hearing.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wood
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Lewis to open the public hearing. So with that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. The public hearing for the 2024 Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 Annual Plan Administrative Plan is now open. Do we have anybody in chambers who would like to speak on this? Is there anybody on the phone? I know we did open this up.
There's not currently anybody on the line.
Okay. We will do one more call for anybody in chambers here tonight to speak on item 4.1. Seeing none, at this point, we will look for a motion to close our public hearing on item 4.1, the approval, or the 2024 Housing Choice Voucher Section 8 Annual Plan and Administrative Plan.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lewis
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Doblinger to close the public hearing. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. With that, we will move on into the discussion of, with the board here on the 2024 Housing Choice Voucher, Section 8 Annual Plan and Administrative Plan. Are there any questions or comments at this time? All right. I do actually have a comment. I would like to state that I appreciate the staff work on this. I know this went from like a 20-page plan to an over 600-page plan and policy, and I think that's a lot of work, and it shows the dedication that the staff has aligning with the requirements of HUD and moving forward with new updates. I do appreciate the extension specifically of the 90 days and with the criminal history. So I think good work is being done. So I just wanted to state that on the record, that the significance of what this plan went from and what it went to. So with that, if there's no other questions or comments right now, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the 2024 Housing Choice Voucher Annual Plan, Certifications, and Administrative Plan for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mueller
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Martin to approve the 2024 Housing Choice Voucher Annual Plan, Certifications, and Administrative Plan for submissions to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, now we will be moving on to organizational business. And item 5.1, the 2024 CDBG Mutual Agreement. May we have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Huhim. Erica Coleman, HRA Administrator. I am bringing forward to you our CDBG, which stands for Community Development Block Grant Mutual Agreement. And so annually, the HRA and the City of Bloomington do enter into a CDBG mutual agreement. And the agreement sets forth the terms and conditions for the administration of the program in and for the City of Bloomington. So as you may recall, Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG for short, is an annual grant allocation that the city receives and that the HRA administers on behalf of the city. And so the CDBG program year goes from July 1st of the prior year to June 30th of the next year. So for 2023 program year, which we currently are in, we did not start that till July 1st, and it ends June 30th of 2024. But our mutual agreement is from January 1st of 2024 to December 31st of 2024. So I'm bringing this before you that we can continue to administer this program in and for and on behalf of the city. And there are no proposed changes to the agreement from the agreement that came before you last year. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Wonderful. Are there any questions? Quiet group tonight. Hearing no questions, we'll be looking for a motion to approve resolution approving mutual agreement for Community Development Block Grant Program between City of Bloomington and Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wooten
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Mueller to approve the resolution approving mutual agreement for Community Development Block Grant Program between City of Bloomington and Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to organizational business, item 5.2, HRA Board Meeting Calendar Amendment. May we have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Huhim. I am bringing before you the HRA Board Meeting Calendar with an amendment. So first off, we have approved this calendar for 2023, so from January to December of 2023. However, our bylaws state that the calendar is approved at the annual meeting. Our annual meeting is usually the first meeting in February. Therefore, I am proposing an amendment to our current calendar to include the months of January and February so that we have an approved calendar through our next annual meeting. But there are a couple of things that I do want to bring to your attention. One, that the meeting on November 28th, I am proposing canceling that meeting. This is the meeting that would be the fourth Tuesday of November, but it is right after the holiday next week. And when there are holidays, when we do have holidays, we do have to have the board packet and information out before the holiday. So we would be looking at having the agenda out next Wednesday. And at this time, we have a very robust agenda this evening, and we have other items to come forward in December. Just with traveling and different things, I am proposing that we cancel the meeting on the 28th of November. And then I just want to bring attention to January and February of 2024, that the January meetings are proposed to be on the second and fourth Tuesday of January, so the 14th and the 28th. But in February, proposing that the meeting on the 13th, which is the second Tuesday, is our annual meeting. And that on the 27th, when we would have another meeting that is a blackout date, that is a date that there cannot be any meetings between 6 and 8 p.m. due to precinct caucuses for the upcoming election. So with that, I'm just proposing keeping one meeting in February of 2024. And so what I did add into the board packet was the current calendar that you did approve back in June, because there was another revision in June, and then what I'm proposing now for the change in November, and then adding January and February of 2024. And I can stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, we'd be looking for a motion to approve amendment to HRA board meeting calendar until the next annual meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lewis
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Doblinger to approve amendment to HRA board meeting calendar until the next annual meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. Moving on to item 5.3 is the 2024 final HRA budget and tax levy. May we have the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Huhim. What I have in your packet for yourselves and the public is the summary memo and budget, including the final HRA budget and levy for 2024. We have made no significant additions or changes to the budget since the preliminary budget was presented to the HRA board and approved on the meeting August 22nd, 2023. I am requesting that the levy amount stay at the preliminary set amount of $1,665,356 for 2024, and that the City Council would look to vote, if approved this evening, City Council would look to vote on the final levy on the meeting on December 4th. But I do have a presentation. It is very similar to the preliminary levy presentation, but I just think just to walk through it, just to make sure we're not just going over, glazing over the information. So the mission of the HRA is to help provide affordable housing opportunities for those who are not adequately served by the marketplace, coordinate the city's efforts to preserve existing neighborhoods, and promote development and redevelopment that enhance Bloomington. There are 5 main buckets in how this work is carried out throughout the organization, and that is operations, housing stability, homeownership pathways, housing creation, and housing preservation. So the 2024 proposed budget is at a total of $9,551,607. This does include the HRA levy request of $1,665,356 and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of $500,000 that goes to that comes from the HRA to help pay the debt service on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. What I do want to just make sure I bring forward is that this $9,551,607 budget is a 0.03% increase from the 2023 HRA budget. And the levy request of $1,665,356 is 40.03% less than the maximum levy of 2023. But if you recall, in 2023, we did enter into a joint powers agreement with the Port Authority. So we did levy at our max of 2.776 and some change, a dollar amount. However, the increase from what we received as the HRA from that levy to what we are requesting at 1.665356 is $288,387. That is the levy increase that we are actually requesting for the HRA. And so I just wanted to point that out. And so what you have before you, this is also in your packet. This is the comparison so that you can see what we had in 2022, which is the first column. In 2023 is the in the second column is the 2023 budget. And so what this budget does include is debt service payments that we had to make, but also the income that we had. And so that's where you see the 11 million as the total budget, but that is not what the HRA operated on. And then in 2023, we did do a conceptual of what we thought 2024 would be. So in 2022, we prepared for 2023 and 2024, and that's what that third column is. But the fourth column, which is in blue, is what we are actually requesting at this point, which is the same as what was brought forward on the August meeting for the preliminary levy. So I want to walk through that just fairly quickly. The first line is property taxes. That is the HRA levy from Hennepin County that we are requesting. The next number that you see that says intergovernmental, that is majority our Housing Choice Voucher program, which is 63% of our budget. It also includes CDBG, some CDBG funds or other funds that we may receive, but majority, over $6 million, is the Housing Choice Voucher program. The other revenues take into consideration different like rent that we receive for the properties that we own, or fees or things that we are able to charge that we do charge. So that's where the other revenue, as well as potential repayments for home loans, outstanding home loans, since we've been doing this program for quite a while, home improvement loan program. And so that's what that other revenue line is. And so that total adds up to the total budget, $9,551,607. So then we go into expenditures. We have salaries and benefits. This is inclusive of all the staff that we do have. So we do have full-time staff in the HRA, but we also have legal, we have finance, we have staff that we share with planning, with the Port Authority. This is inclusive of all the staff, as well as what the salaries and benefits are. Then material, supplies, and services. The reason this number is so large is because, one, it includes all the payments for Housing Choice Voucher. And so while we're receiving funding in under the contract we have with the U.S. Housing Urban Development, HUD, we are also making payments on people's rent, right? So what's included in here is that, as well as loans. So when we do home improvement loans, when we give loans, this is also estimated and included in this whole number. So that's how we get to the $7,262,003 that we expect to be going out the door. Then we have capital outlay, and this is where we have a little bit for different expenditures, different projects, capital things that come up that are not related to the program-specific properties. And then we have the $500,000 that is for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And with that, it evens out where our debits and our credits are the same for our budget at $9,551,607. The next column is the difference between what we thought it would be in 2022 for 2024 and what it actually is proposed right now for 2024, the dollar amount. And then the column next to that is the percentage of that. So the second to last column is the difference between what we are at in 2023 and what we will be at in 2024. And so the difference shows that because we levied at the max in 2023 at 2.776969, but we're only levying at $1,665,356. That's a difference of $1,111,613. So it's a negative. That's what the parentheses are. And then from there, the intergovernmental is up by only $1,207. The reason for that is that HUD does not let us know what our budget is for the program, for the Housing Choice Voucher program, till about April of the current year. So we will not find out what the budget is for 2024 until 2024. And so when I do the budget, the estimate is based on what our budget, our exact budget was received for 2023. And so it was $1,207. The other revenues, I wanted to highlight this because it's down by $209,005 from what we said in 2023. And the reason for this is that we have been receiving a record number of repayments for our home improvement loans. But with interest rates being where they are and the cost of things that have gone up, people are not selling their houses as much, which is one of the triggers, refinance or sell, to pay our loans back. And so I do not want to continue to estimate such high repayments. Our repayments have averaged around $600,000 to $800,000 a year. And so with this, being a little bit more conservative and just not expecting to get that. And that is repayments between CDBG, so Community Development Block Grant, neighborhood, because that funding stream also helps with home improvement loans, as well as other loans that programs we don't administer anymore. There were different pots of money from the state or different things like that we still have outstanding loans where some of that money gets paid back. And then the debt service, we had a large debt service for land that was sold, and so that's where the $1,322,425 is coming from, where we don't expect that. We don't have anything outstanding like that this year, so we don't expect that for 2024. And then if you just go down just a couple, so the increase on salaries and benefits is $242,155, so it's a 19.56% increase. Again, that's all staff across the work of the HRA. And then the material supplies and services is down by over $2 million. And what this is reflective of not expecting to get as many repayments, but also not expecting to do as many loans in that amount. That's what this is reflective of. We also increased the amount per loan. So when we look at that, we increased it because of the cost of materials, goods, and services that have gone up. So now loans are up to $50,000 plus an additional $10,000 for accessibility improvements. And so when we look at that, we don't look at doing as many loans as we might have done prior to. And so just adjusting for that. And so with that, that's where you see the differences between what we conceptualized back in 2022 for 2024 and what we are actually at in 2024 and the difference from 2023's actual budget. Before I move on, are there any questions about that? There's a lot of numbers and a lot of information on this.
Commissioner Wooten.
So for clarification for me and hopefully for anybody else, the decrease in revenue is because we've done such a good job of making loans that people improve their properties, they don't want to sell. I mean, I'm probably being a little flippant there, but is that kind of the thought process?
Thank you, Chair Huheem and Commissioner Wooten. Commissioners, we will take that, yes. They don't want to sell. We are doing what we're supposed to do, and we're preserving not only the property, but the residents in the city of Bloomington as we strive to.
One more. The other question I had, and this I think is a positive, the increase in salaries, I hope has a lot to do with the fact that we have the proper complement in place now to handle the vision and the drive to be, better prepared to handle Bloomington's success and growth.
Thank you, Chair Huheem and Commissioner Wooten. Commissioners, yes, let me speak to that. Sorry that I did go over that so quickly. So the difference between the 2023 and 2024 budget and the increase in salaries and benefits, one, we brought legal in-house, so you don't see that we have a large external expense for general legal counsel. So that's number one. So that is now staff. So that's salaries and benefits. That's a staff that already existed. We did not add new staff. It already existed, but we are using legal staff within the city for our general counsel. 2, accounting. We increased the amount of time needed for our finance and accounting needs per that staff member. Previously, before it was at 50%, we are looking to increase it at 75%. HRA is doing a lot of different things with a lot of different moving pieces, and we want to make sure that we have that in place. Additionally, it is proper staff to carry out the work. We also have a housing development specialist and a HRA planner that came on this year. So all these things, yes, are making sure that the salaries and benefits are reflective of the staff to actually carry out the work of the HRA, which is based upon the assessment and the reorganization as recommended and approved by this body and the city council. So yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
All right, so I kind of just talked through this, but this is, again, the organizational structure of the HRA, as we have HRA board operations and then 2 distinct work areas of the HRA into which all the work falls into 4 buckets underneath those 2 distinct work areas. And so what you see in the little flags are just the funds on how those funds typically go to fund the different things. There is some overlap, but this is the most simplest way to show you how the funds are incorporated into the work of the HRA that we have in your packet in the memo. Here's just a simple way to look at the pie chart. I think I said 63% earlier. Sorry, our vouchers are 66% of our budget at $6.3 million. And then the remaining funds that we have and the remaining funds that we have here outside of the vouchers and the total dollar amount per fund that is proposed for 2024, all of these add up to $9,551,607. This is the breakdown of the levy in particular. $850,000 goes to the development fund. The development fund is solely funded by the levy. And this is the fund that we use to do activities to buy property, to potentially remove property, so that we can create varying different opportunities for affordable housing, whether that is single, 2-family, multifamily. We do it with this fund. But $500,000 of this $850,000 is transferred to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So that is the $500,000 is transferred to be a backstop for the debt service of that, the bond that we did with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to make sure that we can get more deep and deeply affordable units throughout the new multifamily projects that are being developed under the Opportunity Housing Ordinance in the city. So I just wanted to highlight that. And then the remaining funds of the levy are broken up between the Housing Choice Voucher, because I don't know the full budget, and we do have to make sure that we can cover administrative and planning costs. So $51,987 is proposed to go to that fund. And then neighborhood, which also is funded through the levy and repayments of home improvement loan programs. But neighborhood does include the HELP loan, which is a forgivable loan for emergency situations for homeowners in the city of Bloomington. A Brush with Kindness, which is another grant program with Habitat for Humanity for households that are low and moderate income that they're not able to do the work, but they also are getting cited by the city for violations to the city code. And so instead of them continuing to get those cites or violations, and then the only tool is to levy that property at 8% on their taxes. That's the only tool if the work is completed. Well, if they couldn't afford to do the work in the first place, how are they going to afford to do the work with 8% interest on top of that cost? So these programs are within the neighborhood fund to help homeowners in Bloomington. Rental Homes for Future Home Buyers is a 5-year program that we have for people on the pathway to homeownership. This includes 21 scattered site properties that we own that were built between the 1950s and 1970s. And so we have outsourced for property management and property maintenance, so an outside company. However, these properties are coming up on the time where, as we have staggered capital improvements, there's some capital improvements we need to do. Roofs, windows, and major mechanical systems. We're coming up on these properties. These properties are occupied. We're renting them out. So we want to make sure that we maintain their safety and their livability. And then general administration is for the operations and different training for the board, different things that we have throughout the organization. So the first 3 dates are in gray because we've already completed these steps. And so we are here tonight, November 14th, for the HRA board to consider the final budget and levy. And then December 4th, if approved by the HRA board, the city council to consider the final levy request, which is no different than the preliminary levy. And then December 20th is our targeted date to submit all the information to Hennepin County so that we actually have the levy for 2024. And so with that, I can stand for any questions, and I have 2 suggested motions.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Wooten.
Looking at the levy, that number is a definitive number, right? There's no variance in here at all.
Thank you, Chair Huhim, Commissioner Wooten, Commissioners. That is a set number. So the levy number was preliminary set by the HRA board and the city council, and so you can go lower, but you cannot go higher.
Okay, in that vein, is there any variance in the different areas where we have concentrated our budget focuses? Like, is there any opportunity to have less in general administration or less in one of the other areas to cover some potential opportunities that may be in housing or?
At this time, thank you, Chair Huhim, Commissioner Wooten, Commissioners. At this time, I would say that I would have to go back and look at that to make sure that all the expenses would be covered. The way that the budget is now and presented, all the expenses that come out of each fund, in particular general administration, development, neighborhood, housing choice voucher, and assisted rental and rental homes, cover everything. So it not only because staff time is broken up between those different programs, as well as legal or IT and different costs that we have. I would have to go back and look at that if you chose to not want to pass this evening and have that re-looked at or reallocated.
Just so I want to clarify why I asked the question. And it's more because of what I've seen over this past year and what I've had a chance to glean outside in the regular world that I frequent. Opportunities pop up. And so just, wanting to know if there's a chance if something pops up that we didn't anticipate, can we take advantage of it given this budget? That's why I'm asking that question. I know the effort that the staff has put into this, but just, not wanting to miss an opportunity if it happens to pop up.
Thank you. That actually makes a lot of sense. And yes, if there are opportunities such as purchasing of property, we do have in the development fund some funding set aside to be able to acquire. So yes, to answer your question, that if an opportunity does present itself that we need to move quickly or have access to dollars to be able to take advantage of that opportunity, pending the board reviewing that and approving it, then yes, we could do it.
Other questions? I do actually have a question. When thinking about the OHO and knowing that that's pretty much, if I'm clear, handled now through the port, with development and stuff, is there a way for us to get kind of reports on that and how that's going and what, if it's being, if development is happening and stuff like that? I know we are going to try and work together with the port on that, and I would like to keep that communication open so we're all on the same page and we all know what's kind of going on with that, with the OHO, since I know this board put a lot of work into it.
Thank you, Chair Huhim. That's a great question. So the Opportunity Housing Ordinance, OHO, is primarily managed through the port, but because it takes so many people, so many staff, so many divisions, departments to work on that, it is not siloed in the Port Authority. So we do have a housing development specialist that the primary duty of the housing development specialist is to manage and be the face of the Opportunity Housing Ordinance. That staff is partially in the HRA. And so in understanding this, yes, number one, you do have the opportunity to engage, get feedback, provide information, comments, questions on anything with the Opportunity Housing Ordinance, and then as well as updates on different projects that are happening or potential developments. I will say that with the interest rates that have not only affected homeowner occupied property, they have affected the construction of multifamily properties. And so while the Port Authority staff, HRA staff, I'll just call them community development staff. There we go. Community development department staff are working on the Opportunity Housing Ordinance and other projects that may come forward. But yes, we do come back to this body and we do provide that information, opportunity for input.
Thank you for that clarification. Are there any other questions? Hearing no other questions, we will have two motions this evening. The first motion is to approve resolution approving final special benefit levy pursuant to MSA section 469.033 subdivision 6. We have a motion by Commissioner Martin
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Wooten to approve resolution approving final special benefit levy pursuant to MSA section 469.033 subdivision 6. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to the second motion, it would be a motion to approve resolution approving final budget for 2024 for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lewis
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Doblinger to approve resolution approving final budget for 2024 for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the City of Bloomington. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Yes.
Thank you, Chair Huhim. So with that and the discussion of our budget and mention of our Rental Homes for Future Homebuyers program a couple of times, I do have a video that is available on our Bloomington YouTube channel for you to see right now, and it's only 2 minutes and about 29 seconds, but we will watch this video real briefly.
Thank you.
If it wasn't for the rental housing program, we definitely wouldn't be here. Oh, wow.
2011 is when we got into the program.
It's our Rental Homes for Future Homebuyers program. The City of Bloomington Housing Authority has had this program for over 30 years now.
We were able to save up a bunch of money through this program. What was cool was that we were really just renting a home under market value.
There's 20 single-family homes spread throughout Bloomington. They're all 3-bedroom ramblers.
We had a pretty steep driveway, so Mike had to learn how to deal with Minnesota snow, even though he's from St. Louis, Missouri.
Just the yard work experience that I got from that has done us tremendous with this new home here.
We kind of try and help them budget or pay off bad debt, that sort of thing, so that they're ready to get a mortgage.
It definitely felt like a little hand-holding and a little something like maybe that my parents and the generation before us didn't teach us.
They had folks come by to educate us on how to keep up a house until we moved into our own home.
So we did. We got this house in Victoria.
Great area, downtown Victoria.
We moved back at Bloomington actually the year of COVID shutdown. We closed on our house here the day that everything shut down.
Blue flowers!
Oh, you like the blue flower too? We were expecting our third daughter. We needed a little bit bigger house, and so we moved into a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house here in Bloomington with a big backyard. Part of trying to build wealth for your family is making big plans for the future. I decided to open my business, which is an arts school in West Bloomington. It's called The Arts Creative. It's a super fun time. We do birthday parties, we have adult nights, we have camps.
I know when I first met her, I remember her having a kiln in the basement, and that's always kind of been her passion. So to see them able to move back to Bloomington and for her to start her business here, you know, it's just everything's come full circle. circle. It's just one of our great success stories.
Bloomington has got a lot of great programs. I feel like we are giving to this community and they've really given right back to us, and it feels like they're invested in us as citizens, and they want our kids to be happy and healthy. They want us to be happy and healthy.
It has been a life changer for us and our kids.
It makes for a really healthy community to have homeowners.
Very nice. I'd just like to add a comment to that. I had told Erica this before, but I specifically have a friend who was in the same program, and she's a single mom. She originally immigrated from kind of immigrated, but she came from Puerto Rico to New York and then to Minnesota, and she lived in Shady Lane Mobile Home Park with my grandmother that was closed down, and that's actually how I got into activism and applied for the HRA, was through my activism through that process. She then got through the home buyers program with the city of Bloomington, and her now 3, she had 4, one moved out obviously and went to college and stuff, but her 3 girls bought a home about, I think, 3 years ago now. So I've seen it come full circle as well, and as a single mom, it gave her that opportunity and education and support. So I think it's a great program. I'm really glad. I really would like to see this on the city website and also on the Facebook and also social media to really prove. Oh, okay, sorry. I will share it then. But just a little side comment that I wanted to share, that this is a very impactful program. So thank you for the work in that.
Yes, and lastly, I just want to say that you saw in the video Robin Lotsky. She is one of the HRA staff, but she actually has been here for 30 years, and she has been able to witness and work on multiple different programs and touch many lives, as well as her colleagues. Some are who are here, some are who are watching, but this is impossible without the dedication and the knowledge and ability that the HRA staff have, and the public service dedication that they bring forward every day. So I just wanted to bring that forward, and just so you all got to see it. But this video was released about a few weeks ago, and so it's an opportunity for anybody to check it out and to share it as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5.4, we'll be moving into a closed session to discuss purchase real property located at 2720 West 108th Street. May we have the staff report?
Thank you. So the HRA will meet in closed session today, November 14th, 2023, to consider offers to purchase real property pursuant to the requirements of Minnesota Statutes 13D.05, Subdivision 3C3. The specific property under discussion is 2720 West 108th Street, as set forth in the attached resolution and map. After discussion in closed session, the HRA meeting will be reopened in order to take any action arising from the closed session and to formally adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. So we'll be looking for a motion to adopt a resolution directing the closure of a public meeting of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the city of Bloomington.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mueller
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Wooten to adopt a resolution directing the closure of a public meeting of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority in and for the city of Bloomington. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Chair and Commissioners, we're back live.
Thank you. All right. At this point, we would like to, we are looking for a motion this evening to authorize staff to proceed consistent with the discussion in the closed session for the property at 2720 West 108th Street.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wooten
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Dolblinger. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, moving on to now discussion items. Item 6.1 is a 2024 work plan.
Thank you.
We have the staff report, sorry.
Thank you, Chair Huhim. So I wanted to bring before you the 2024 work plan draft as a working document to get your feedback and input and for discussion. We would not look for approval on a work plan until our annual meeting in February. However, we want to make sure that we are engaging the board on the direction and the items that we are looking to focus on. So what you have in your packet is the 2023 approved work plan that we went through. As you'll note, again, it's broken up into the 5 main buckets of the HRA: operational, housing stability, homeownership pathways, housing preservation, housing creation. And then you have the 2024 work plan document, which builds pretty much off of that 2023, but it is only for discussion purposes only. And it is the 5 main buckets, but I wanted to just have a discussion with you all to see if there's any items on this that you want to see there that you don't have clarity about, if you want a different format. So just having a discussion about all the work that we have been doing as the HRA and as we move forward, if there are items or things that the board wants to see or called out for 2024.
So we'll be opening this up for discussion. I have a suggestion, and I don't know that, I mean, I feel like this is, I feel like it's more directed towards the board.
Yes.
So I would like to really see the board engage more with the community ourselves. I feel like that piece is missing. I feel we try and we're getting better, but I think, being at events when we can, if we can, I know we'll probably be getting a bunch of ribbon cutting ceremonies hopefully this year. With a couple, I know with the Park Avenue development and things like that. And I just want to make sure we're staying engaged with the community and being accessible to our community. That is one of the big missions on the board, is that, and I say this just because it's been a refresher for me going through the work plan, going through, kind of some of our bylaws and things like that, and just things that I know I committed myself to. And so I'd like that commitment of, I think it should be one of our commitments of engaging within the community, making sure we're accessible to the community.
Thank you, Chair Huhim. So based on that, I just made a note on that, but 3 things came to mind. So we have the Bloomington Housing Action Team. I was trying to keep it to about 2 commissioners just to not violate open meeting law. And so that's for the different boards and commissions that are involved with the Bloomington Housing Action Team, which is open to any and all community members. Then National Night Out. So National Night Out is the first Tuesday in August. This year in 2023, we had a Bloomington Housing Action Team meeting on that night, and we tried to incorporate that opportunity for people in the community to attend. Next year, I'm proposing we don't even have a Bloomington Housing Action Team meeting on that evening, and that as staff, in terms of at least the community development managers, we will be in community in Bloomington, attending different National Night Out, or at least driving around to different ones. And I would ask that commissioners, you either attend your own or go and attend other National Night Outs in Bloomington. And then lastly, NARO. All of us staff and you all are a part of NARO, which is National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. They have a housing day. They have a housing day at the Capitol every year. And so I can provide more information about that when that comes up, but that is also a way to engage and participate, just off the top of my head on the 3 things that come to mind, and more engagement with community, but also around the issues and work here in the HRA.
Thank you. And I'll just add one little side note. I host my neighborhood National Night Out, so if anybody needs a place to go, you're welcome to come to my house. Just putting it out there. Commissioner Doblinger.
I'll be hosting the National Night Out next year. My neighbor is retiring after a number of years, so I'll be hosting it in my neighborhood as well.
This is wonderful.
I'm happy to hear that we won't have a BHAT meeting because I missed my neighborhood night out. So that's a good move.
Commissioner Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Just something I've been thinking about and top of mind based on the video we just watched. I'm just curious moving forward, and I suppose doesn't need to be formally an item on the work plan, but we're doing such innovative work in terms of kind of the wraparound support that we're providing new Bloomington residents, folks wanting to transition into home ownership. And I'd be curious what kind of data we have or could pull together kind of on a longitudinal perspective of what has been the success over the 30 years we've offered this program for folks that have exited, purchased homes, whatever that may be. I just know back, I did a little stint with Teach for America, and I know a big conversation at the time was in middle school and high school, you could surround a student, equip them with the tools they need, send them off to college, and then a lot of times they got to college, didn't have those supports, and weren't able to finish their educational career. And I just wonder from a home ownership perspective, after they kind of leave the nest a little bit, what additional support can we even just refer them to for long-term success? Or maybe they're crushing it and we don't need it and we can pat ourselves on the back. So I'm just curious.
Thank you, Chair Huhim, Commissioner Martin, Commissioners. That's a great point. I think it's also something that as staff we have discussed internally, just with different things we're seeing, because one of the pathways to that is, at least if they are in Bloomington, staying in Bloomington or coming back to Bloomington, we have home improvement loans, right? So how are we making sure to connect that to make sure that we can not only preserve the property, but also the actual homeowners? I can tell you that in the 30 years that this program has existed, there have been 60 home buyers. Now, I would have to go back and pull the actual number of how many households that is total that have moved in the program. Some people, there's just varying different reasons. They are allowed to purchase a property anywhere in the country. And the reason for that is we do not match their dollars. So there's no Bloomington dollars going into the savings they have. They are saving that money on their own for 5 years. And then they're able to take that money where we actually wire it to the closer, to the closing table. So I do not restrict to the city of Bloomington or to the state of Minnesota because it's their dollars. However, we can look back and see about more engagement and opportunity. When we did have the panel discussion about protecting your most valuable asset, your home, where we had partners from Department of Commerce and lenders and Minnesota Housing. One thing we did learn is that a lot of people are underinsured. A lot of people get into home ownership and then they don't know what to do. And so it's definitely something we've already been looking at, and I think you're on point with that. And we can also look at that information being included in the annual housing report, just to know what's been done this year and who's purchased. We have had purchases this year, so we would include that information, but how else we can just make sure we're connecting people along every step of the journey. Mm-hmm.
I have another kind of question, sort of, and I don't know, do we have any sort of transitioning for seniors in our community? It was brought to my attention actually by Commissioner Martin over a discussion of just how large our senior population is in Bloomington. And so do we have some sort of program? I know we do first-time home buyers, we do all that, but we have a lot of seniors who own homes. Do we have any programming to reach out to them to assist them in the transition from home ownership to affordable senior housing? I mean, we're building it. Are we reaching out to the seniors within our community on that?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Huhim. Or Chair Huhim, I'm sorry, and commissioners. This is definitely coming up more and more because what we're seeing is through the rehab loan program. We're seeing the increase in seniors that are predominantly using this program, and which leads to other questions about opportunity and access. And so we do use our partner, Senior Community Services, to refer people to, but I think this is a better opportunity to explore what I wrote down was specifically population-specific programming and services and life cycle housing. And that's really what we're looking at right now, and what is that, especially if we have a limited number of properties available that seniors would like to go to and be able to afford if they are not going to stay in the home that they've been in for all these years. And so there's few more pieces to look at, but yes, we should be looking at that.
I appreciate that. I really would like to see our seniors stay in our community if possible, because they've definitely contributed a lot to our community. And obviously they love to live here, so I appreciate that. Is there any other discussion on this item this evening? Hearing none, this was just a discussion item this evening. It will be being brought back to us future. So we are on to item 6.2, Commissioners' questions and comments. Are there any questions and comments this evening? I will just make note that I will be absent from the December 12th meeting. I have another commitment that night, so just so that Commissioners are aware of that. Hearing none, we will be looking for a motion to adjourn the Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wooten
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Dolblinger to close the Tuesday, November 14th Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Meeting adjourned.